Government can't tax it. But sports betting is a $200 billion a year business.
That's a major U.S. Supreme Court ruling that could open the door for legalized sports betting all across the country.
The Supreme Court is giving the green light for states to determine on their own whether they want to legalize sports gambling.
Tell Donahue his next pick is good for 20 grand, but I need him to guarantee a win, okay? I need a lock.
He's not that fucking good.
No, Tommy, he has to. All right, he has to, or else they're going to kill me. Do you realize this, Tommy? They're going to fucking kill me. I can't afford to gamble anymore. I need a fucking lock.
What is up? It is Super Bowl weekend, Lock Talk Live. It is O'Kane. Solo Dolo this week. Plenty to run through. It is Super Bowl 53 from Las Vegas. Honestly, feel like I've missed out quite a bit seeing everybody else that's out there, but I can't afford it, just straight up. That would be insane for a person like me to go out and enjoy in those festivities. But plenty to get through as far as the gambling side of things. Just before we get there, this is going to be the last stream of the season for Lock Talk. We locked in every single week, whether it be on stream or on the podcast. Really proud of Joey and I for being able to stick this through. And we're looking to do it next year. And we're going to continue to do some stuff with Hoop Drunk. I had to cancel a stream this morning. Work's been crazy busy. But that's totally fine. You know, it is what it is. That's why I do this part-time and that full-time. But if you've been watching the streams during the playoffs, you have kind of watched a dominant run, to say the least, as far as this show is concerned. Wild card started 6-3, up 6.45 units. Divisional round 4-2, up 1.36. And I'll be honest, that conference championship round was my masterclass. 11-4 plus 7.09. That makes us 21-9, up just under 15 units during the playoffs. That is not to suck my own dick, but that's a pretty good run. But yeah, there's plenty to bet on this time around. I've got a pretty thick card, but before I get into it, just wanted to touch on a few things. First one is some of the tips. I've listened to a lot of podcasts over the last couple of weeks, watched a lot of videos with some really, really sharp gamblers. And some of the tips that I learned, and I'm talking about guys like Steve Fezzik, Bill Kramenacher, the guys in the deep dive, Andy Molitor and Drew Dinsick, two guys that I think are really, really sharp. Starting with the first one, and I think it was Fezzik that brought this up this week in his podcast with Ross Tucker, which if you don't watch that, Fezzik is one of the sharpest guys in the world. That's just a fact. His big one, yes, no bets. Make sure that you have one way or the other. Obviously, it's great if you're going to take highest receiving yards, but the variance and the value there is crazy. He says stick to your yes, no bets. And he said laying $1.50, so laying your minus 150s, 160s, doesn't need to be taboo, especially in the Super Bowl. He said a lot of sharps are going to play those numbers, and you'll see. I had no problem doing that. It honestly gave me a lot of confidence to go with some of the bets that I had on my card. One that I saw Dinsick bring up, Drew Dinsick from the deep dive with Andy the Whale. He's an interesting one, and I tried to separate him because he's an NBC guy that gets to go to the Super Bowl, and he's talking about winding it down during the postseason so he can enjoy it. If you watch this podcast, we've kind of flipped that around. We kind of ramp it up as we get closer and closer, but today's just kind of fun stuff. And to really capitalize on the fun stuff, no more than a half unit on silly props. Bill Kramenacher talked about this. Obviously, we're going to talk about the national anthem. We are going to talk about Gatorade. I couldn't find Gatorade. There were some weird ones that were out there, but I didn't have any Gatorade ones available on my books that I had. But these are some of the things that I just wanted to touch on before we jump into the bets. And as you're going to see, I don't really love playing sides and totals as far as the Super Bowl goes. I do have one play. It is where I'm going to start. And the total is 47.5. I have no thoughts on the total. I do have a second half total that I'm going to talk about that I'm sure a lot of people are also going to be looking at. But we'll get to that, excuse me, in a minute. I'm on Chiefs +3. I got it on Bet Openly. If you want Chiefs +3, you'll be able to get it. Gino, Trev, all those 49er Glazers. I love you guys, but you are Glazers. They're going to be all over this, and they will take your action. I would imagine Chiefs +3 I got for -118 for 2 units, and I got a little bit of strategy there. I don't know if that's exactly where I'm going to sit. I do have some bullets still left in the chamber that I may fire live, but I'm going to get to that at the end of the show. Like I said, 47.5. doesn't really swing me one way or another. I personally feel like the total's a little bit higher than I expected it to be. Chiefs defense really, really good, and I don't know if I trust the San Francisco offense or the Chiefs offense for that matter. They looked like dog shit in the second half, but I don't know if they were trying last time against Baltimore. Let's get into some of the fun shit. Whoops, scrolling on the wrong one. Some of the fun props that we have going right now. Now, it's cool because I can actually say this. We have a few books that I have personal relationships with. Obviously, Bet Openly is one that I talk about all the time, but the one that is near and dear to this show's heart, Cut Sim, our boy, has probably some of the best fun props out there as far as national anthem, coin toss, and I'm going to get into some of the other ones because they're nuts. And this is why I love his little player-to-player app. And I shouldn't say little because those boys are going to get funded, and I promise that shit's going to blow up. But he's got an awesome market for the fun props. So if you are at a Super Bowl party, you can A, bet those fun props on the open market. B, you can bet people at your party. This is all free plugs, by the way. And I know Bet Openly's got a free to use peer-to-peer if you want to just bet with a buddy as well that Gino's been losing money on. And we do appreciate him for that. But as far as my fun props, I'm going to start national anthem. I got Reba over 90.5 seconds. It's plus 110. You get plus 110 on the over for the national anthem. That's relatively low since like 98. They've been averaging 112 seconds. But there was a Reba clip from right around that same time back in the 80s, 90s, where she knocked it out in like 89 seconds, which is fucking flying. And it's borderline unpatriotic if she goes under. So I'm going to like over on the country music singing Reba McEntire on plus 110 on Cut. As far as the coin toss, I always take tails. I take tails every year. There's no reason for it. I got a half unit on that as well. I'm just taking tails. To get to some of the fun ones that are not offered everywhere else, there's 3 that didn't see it anywhere. And the fact that I have action on 2 of these is hilarious. The first one is one that I didn't bet. They have Tony Romo. How many times he says Jim during the broadcast. Total is set at 30.5. I did not bet it. I don't know what the analytics are. I don't even know if 30.5 is a lot for a guy to address his other guy in the booth. It's a terrific one if you want to go on there. There is some action if you want the over on 30.5 gyms. I don't know, Jim. Anyways, some other ones. Brittany Mahomes' Instagram story count during games. Now, I was able to get some analytic background on this, looking back at some of her previous games. The line was set at 10 flat at even money. I went over for a half unit in this one. I didn't really look back. I just think she's very, very frustrating and annoying, and is going to post a bunch of Instagram stories because she's at the Super Bowl, and I guarantee it's going to be a photo op because Taylor Swift is in the box with her. Next one, and probably my favorite one, I wanted to break the rule and go over a half unit because I really feel strongly. The Andy Reid punt, pass, and kick video to be shown. I have no at minus 125. Everybody knows the Andy Reid punt, pass, and kick video where he's like 6'1", all the other kids are 5'4", 5'3", and he comes in like an absolute tank. The only way Andy Reid would back in the day. But yes, those are my fun props. And again, shout out, those are available on Cut. You can get Cut on the App Store. They're available in a ton of different states now. So go on and get yourself some weird action there. But let's talk about some game props. Gosh, I got a little bit stuck in my throat here. We're going to go through some game props. This is where some of my pricing gets expensive. And I'm going to go with the most expensive one first because I am putting 2 units on this. I've got neither team to lead in all 4 quarters. That means that the Chiefs can't be leading in all 4 quarters. It more or less can't be a blowout. You don't get a lot of close ones looking back at Super Bowls prior. The past 3 Super Bowls that haven't featured Tom Brady, this has been golden. It's also hit in the past 2 Super Bowls that the 49ers have played in. I don't see it being a blowout, and ties count for a win. So if it's 6-6 at the end of one, 7-7 at the end of one, boom, we win it. If not, we got 3 more quarters for either the lead to swing or the lead to tie. So I love that one. It's minus 200 for 2 units. Neither team to lead in all 4 quarters. Next one, under 4.5 sacks, got it for minus 125, and this is the total for the game. We've yet to see a San Francisco game produce north of 4 sacks this playoff. The Chiefs only had 1 out of their 3 games produce 5 or more. It was a hectic 7-sack game last time out. Both quarterbacks do a really good job getting rid of the football. Both offensive lines are solid. The Chiefs, they were the second least sacked team in the league. The 49ers were tied for 5th. Both averaged less than 2 against all season. I think they keep their guys upright. I've got a unit -125. That's under 4.5 total sacks. This one here was interesting, and I was a little surprised by it. First turnover, interception +125 for a half a unit. Purdy just seems like he's super due to have a back-breaking interception, and to do it in the first quarter against this Chiefs offense, especially if the Chiefs go down and score and Purdy throws an interception. That's kind of what he's been primed to do with some of the play that he's had in the first half this playoff. And on the flip side, San Francisco is coming off their second straight season lead in the league in picks. The Bears actually tied them this year. I was surprised to see that at 20. I think it was 22, right around 22. But neither team is really near the top of the league in forced fumbles. San Francisco is actually bottom 5 in the league in forced fumbles. So I like first turnover interception +125. That's a good price for a half unit. The last game prop that I want to get into here is one that I think is going to be one of the most heavily bet. And I think I got a terrific line with one of my local guys. Second half, under 24. I got it for even money. It's not going to be a fun bet, especially if I'm chasing with Kansas City in the second half. But it was going to be a bet blindly no matter what the line was. Kansas City's second halves went under in 17 of 19 games this season. It's crazy. If you haven't jumped on the train yet, you've kind of missed the boat, and you might miss the boat in the Super Bowl if you don't jump on it. If they end up doing it in 18 of their 20 games, second halves going under, I don't think we'll ever have a better trend ever. I mean, this was crazy, the fact that it just kept going. And shout out to Andy and Drew. They were ones that pointed out super early on the deep dive. So I've been able to cash in on some of those. And I feel terrific. Like I said, for even money, I've got a unit going on the second half even. Now, I wanted to get into some player props and prize picks. So as far as prize picks go, Purdy and Mahomes, I paired the passing yard demons. I didn't have a book that had lines that short, and I think it just feels like one that is as square as possible. But looking at Mahomes, his passing yards is way too expensive on prize picks. 264.5 versus 259.5 consensus. However, his touchdown passes, that's where I want to look at. Definitely plus EV. What up, Vargas? Looking at around -150 to -160 on market. And if you pair it with something, it's going to be a positive EV play as long as the prize pick isn't completely fucked up. My original pairing suggestion was going to be Kyle Juszczyk over a half receptions, but they did take that off the board. Unfortunately, instead, I went from doing a 2-unit play on that to a 1-unit play, pairing it with Juszczyk's receiving yards at over 3.5. He had 33 against Detroit. And let's not forget his role last time these teams played in the Super Bowl, 3 receptions and a touchdown. I've also got 1.75 units on Juszczyk over 1 reception, -133 at Bet Openly. I think that is my favorite prop of the day as far as player props go. Like I said, 1.75 units on that one, bring home right around 1.5 or so. All right. So my strategy for the game, I kind of talked about it before. I've got Kansas City currently catching 3 at -118. I'm going to live bet it if San Francisco gets out to +3, +4, and I'm going to try to find a middle. That's just how I want to play this game. It's not that I feel super, super duper confident in Mahomes one way or another, but I do think the ability to keep it within that number. And I don't think the Chiefs are going to go out there and blow them out. I do think Shanahan's been weird this week. It looked like he's been almost drunk. I don't know exactly. I don't know if you guys can hear Odie's going nuts. But Shanahan's looked almost drunk, and I think the pressure's really getting to him. He's aging like a president. I don't know really how he's doing as far as his mental capacity. And it really does seem like Steve Spagnuolo, Chiefs defensive coordinator, has his number. So like I said, I'm going to try it. I've got +3 on one side. I'm going to try to get +3 right around even money on the other side so I don't have to eat juice on both sides. And I'm going to try to find a middle, see if I can double up there. Worst case, take 1/2. But as far as a recap of my plays here, grab my phone, just run through the list. Total of 10 bets. First turnover interception +125 half unit. Under 4.5 sacks at -125 for a unit. Nobody to lead all 4 quarters, minus 200 for 2 units. The national anthem over 90.5 seconds, plus 110 for a half unit. Andy Reid punt, pass, and kick video not shown for minus 125 for a half unit. Brittany Mahomes over 10 Instagram stories during the game, plus 100 for a half unit. Like I said, starting up with KC plus 3 for 2 units. Use check over a half reception. He just needs to catch one ball, man. 1.75. That's a minus 133 there. Under 24 in the second half. That's even money. I've got a unit and then the coin flip at tails. That's it, man. It's I wanted to buzz through that as quick as I can. It's guys' night up in Green Bay. All the girls are hanging out, so I'm going to go hang with the boys. Hope you guys have a terrific Super Bowl. Thanks to everybody for tuning in this year. The live stream thing was different. It requires a little bit less planning, I guess, a little bit less notes and going a little bit more rambling. And obviously, chat's been great. So, and shout out to Joey. Shout out to Joey and Paulie. Let me spew my shit on their app all the time. Shout out Lock Talk, the app itself. Go download. You got to do it. Shout out to Cut. Shout out to Bet Openly. Shout out to Dan Koob. Everybody that came by, Isaac this year. It was very, very fun. We're going to try to do it again next year. Who knows what the hell work's going to look like. But we're going to always try to talk a little ball, talk a little locks. But that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys have a terrific offseason, and make sure you tune into Hoop Drunk. Actually, I have it up in that corner. I didn't even change the logo. So, yeah, let's get Hoop Drunk here shortly. See you guys.